As soon as you see it pop up on your phone or anything like that on any devices, just assume we can go. All right, go. I think we're good.
We're going to just say we're good. It is TAW Live. You might have just seen us be absolutely frozen like the end of Air. Police squad into the cameras there. Neil Atkinson with Gareth Roberts, with Ben Johnson, and with Andy Heaton. We're going to try and take comments as we go, but we're going to do it as we see all the way through. And this is what we're doing this season in terms of just trying to sort of enjoy it more, be able to plan the shows around when the games are, be able to look ahead, look back, all that sort of stuff. Or in this instance, Gareth, move our entire lives and everything we're about because of Craig Cannon's wedding.
Yeah. I mean, very selfishly, he's put his wedding on the eve, or indeed the day the Premier League starts, because you've got Brentford Arsenal, hasn't you?
I had tickets for that
on the actual day. He's getting married, and I got on the tickets thing. I got offered tickets for Norwich, and it's basically my favourite away.
It's an amazing city.
Amazing city. My best mate lives there, or one of them. You know what I mean? So I definitely would have gone. I definitely would have said yes to that opportunity. But yeah, Craig, what's he doing there? Getting married and that. So yeah,
it's atrocious, frankly. But simultaneously, I wish the happy couple all the very best.
Two very nice people.
Oh, lovely.
And they will be. They already are great together, and it'll be boss. Looking forward to this.
It's going to be phenomenal.
Looking forward to the celebration of it. It literally says on the invite, bring your dancing shoes. So I'm interested to see the dancing that's going on.
Absolutely going to be shapes all over the place. Also with us, as I said before, we've got Ben Johnson and we've got Andy Heaton, and we're going to talk about the wider season. We're going to look ahead to Carrow Road. We're going to talk about the first three. We're going to talk about the window. The managers made comments today, which are very, very useful to Norwegian TV. He's one in, one out from this sort of basis as we're going to go from there. But this is about the Anfield Wrap. Us doing it a little bit differently this year, looking forward to games, looking back at games. This is where it all is. And Ben, the wider season, the expectations on it, I think, are really interesting as to where everyone's pitching themselves. I'm very, very into this idea of Liverpool reclaiming the title and getting it back to where they want. Simultaneously, it's fair for people's expectations just to have a lovely time because we've missed out on it for so long. Where are you in between just having a lovely time and being absolutely desperate to win 38 games?
As it stands, I'm wholly in the camp of I just can't wait to go and have a lovely time because we haven't been able to go and do it, and I purposely haven't gone to the friendlies because I want the first one back to be a proper game. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a shame it's 12:30 kick off the Burnley one at home, but I'm firmly in the camp of having a great time until the first ball's kicked, mate, and then the pressures of the whole thing kick in, and it's like, oh, I remember this. Yeah, we've got to win every game. And so, yeah, it's a bit of both, mate. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I've missed it so much.
Okay.
Click where it says the Anfield Wrap.
Click this here, and then I'll get what I need, will I? Marvellous stuff. Thank you very much, Robbo. We're all trying to work this out as we go.
What was going on then, by the way? Because Heaton was like the worst ever. No, if he was one of them fellas who has to land planes.
Yeah.
Them planes are crashing. Definitely.
Pilots.
Straight, no, the fellas on the thing with all the arm signals doing all this. Playing right in the river.
He's put a thing on the chat saying the sound's gone his end, so we'll just sort of see where we are in a minute. We'll come back to him then in a second.
See what people are saying. Are they saying the sound's gone?
They're absolutely delighted. Absolutely delighted in the comments there on the YouTube. So where are you, Gareth, in the expectations in terms of just having a lovely time, coming all the way through and getting back to this idea of, wanting to see them lift the trophy?
I'm straight into them. Straight in. I want us to win the league again because it was great winning the league, don't get me wrong, and I'm really glad it's clicked from 18 to 19 because, there's been so many seasons, so many years where I thought that was never going to happen. I genuinely thought there was some kind of weird curse. And the year that I get put in the ground, the following year, Liverpool would win the league. Do you know what I mean? One of them. So I'm glad they did it. But now I want to see them do it. I want to be in the ground for that moment. I want to be in the city for that moment when we can celebrate it properly. So I think that's the big motivation for this squad as well. I think that's what they'll want to do. I think that's what the manager will be saying to them. We've done it. That's proven that you can do it. But now let's do it properly. Do it for them. Do it for us. And think about that image at the end.
On that, do you think there was something when we do it? going right the way through that season, there's a moment where everyone now says, oh, I knew it was done then. So everyone's got their own, oh, I knew it was done then. But I think there was still, in sort of a general sense, there was a number of people who still were struggling to enjoy it because it was the idea of, well, you could still throw it away. We've thrown it away in the past. What I wondered how this could be different in terms of both enjoying it, the novelty of being back, but then getting stuck straight in is you've seen them win one now. Yeah. You haven't got to be stressed out by it. Let's be intense. Let's be desperate. Let's want it, but let's look to enjoy it as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think the support now can be the right side of support, if you know what I mean. So there was times where because of that desperation, we weighed a bit too much on the shoulders of some of our players. I thought sometimes at Anfield. No, I'm not saying it went toxic, but the desperation spilled over a little bit. I think now that that's taken away a bit, and we can just literally get behind the players, we can enjoy being back in the ground, we can enjoy having a great side. That could be a positive thing. And on the quality that we've got at our disposal as well, I think it's dead interesting the amount of people I've spoken to, including at the time on the nights in question. Those two friendlies that were played at Anfield, loads of people seem to have come away and gone, we've got some good players there, you know. And I'm like, I know, yeah, that's how come we won the league, you know. That's how come we were the form side at the end of last season. That's how come we had them 10 games where we ended up in third place. You know, so there's loads of reasons to be going into the season with positivity. And yeah, I'm made up that it's back. I'm back properly. I'm back with us in the pub, back with us in the grounds. But I also think genuinely we've got a great chance of going and winning the league. And I think it's amusing to me the amount of people and the amount of media organisations that are absolutely writing us off, like putting us fourth and stuff like that in predictions. And it's like, who are all these teams who were so much better than Liverpool? Where are they? Show me them.
Andy, that all the way through, you know, we've got to remember that getting back into the ground doesn't just apply to us, and I'll come on to something else in that in a minute. All of that is the case. That's happening full stop across the board. But this idea, I think, of us being able to genuinely expect, it was nailed on by those games. When you saw the strength and depth of Liverpool playing 2 11s across 2 separate games, so many good players on there, I thought the Reds were the absolute business in a couple of different ways. Yes, they were a bit porous, but all of a sudden everyone did have to say, you know what, there's a lot of really good Liverpool players.
Yeah, there are. And I think we've been massively impacted. I mean, you talk about the injuries all you want last year, but we were literally missing the whole defence, which impacted the rest. But we've done that a million times. And you know what? Maybe it's opened the door a little bit. There's the conversation going on about Tsimikas, who's excited me from what I've seen of him. And it's easy to forget as well that, you know, when Andy Robertson signed, no one saw him for about 3 or 4 months. And it was only when Albion Moreno actually got injured that, you know, he gets in. So, you know, there's a little bit of panic around that, but they've had some good... he hasn't disappointed, has he? And all right, you always can see goals in pre-season anyway. I think it's more about just getting minutes in, and we're probably going in, touch wood, into the opening season in the best shape we've looked for a couple of years. And it is easy to disrespect the players that have been there, been there and done it. And what I point to is the last 11 games of the Premier League season last year, where there's still significantly depleted squad. They put that run together, and when they had to, and they took every last inch, and when they had no breathing space whatsoever. And also, it's easy to forget, even with the injuries, come Christmas, you know, we were around about the top of the table. Yeah. It was just when it really bit on the squad that it affected them. So I'm really excited. I mean, could we do a little bit more? Maybe, but the man. I know you referenced the interview with Jürgen in Norway today, but hopefully there might be a few in and a few out. But I don't think it needs major surgery, Neil. Maybe just a smattering here and there.
Well, Andy's point there, Ben, about before we go to Carrow Road, where the pressure will be on, the noise will be up, the crowd will be on it. And we've got to acknowledge that, you know, Carrow Road, firstly, it is quite a tight ground. It's a good ground. The crowd will be on it. You know, they haven't seen this newly promoted side. But the flip side is our players towards the end of last season, as Andy said. They don't just win 8 of the last 10 in a universe where everybody else is knocked off and there's no pressure on anybody. They're going into every single one of those games knowing each of them is must win. And they're getting the results that they get all the way through that run. Not quite almost win, because they do draw 2 of them and still achieve the aim. But the point being, they go and they do it. They've been under that pressure. And it means now they've done 3 consecutive run-ins almost faultlessly. You know, they do 18-19 faultlessly. It's just that City are a bit stronger to start with, and they win a Champions League. They get themselves into last season where it's all a run-in from game 1. It's all a run-in. This is a team that can play under massive pressure. Yeah,
definitely. And I think the other thing to note, I think it's been evidence in Euros that have gone, and in the games the back ends of last season. I think there was a couple of playoff games where a fair fairly decent crowd in. I think the thing I took from watching that is the players just seem to enjoy being in an atmosphere, regardless if it's hostile. It's like, this is so great because it's just not silent. And it's actually this thing that we've trained all our lives for. And this is what it's about. It's going and putting on a performance for spectators in the ground. And yeah, we're away. But, you know,
the idea of the energy will just come. The energy
will come, and it's about remembering what you do when you're in adversity. You go and silent the crowd, and you go and put your stamp on the game, and then you've got your away. I mean, imagine that away end. That away end's going to be lunacy. It's going to be berserk. People have been on the bus for 7 hours or whatever. It's first one back in 18 months. It's going to be.
There isn't one further, by the way. I did the Google Maps thing today. I did them all today, spent a bit of time on it. There isn't one further. It's further than Southampton. But you're on the roads. There isn't one further.
Miles. And when you think you're there, you're not. You're still 2 hours away. And so imagine the bus. Imagine the people going in the ground. And that, I think, the atmosphere, you're going away. You'd rather be at home first game of the season. I'd always rather be at home. But I think it's not to be scared of, and I think you look at the character of this Liverpool side, and you look at the preparation so far in pre-season, and the way they've had the ability to go away for 4 weeks. You look at everybody else. I'm looking at everybody else's pre-season plan. You see Man United playing Everton at home, and you see Arsenal playing Chelsea, and Chelsea playing Tottenham at home. And then you're looking at Liverpool, and you're thinking, well, are we the only ones who've actually gone away?
Only passports. No one else can put their hands on them.
But it seems that way, do you know what I mean? But I think, you look at it from the benefits of that. If you've been in this process for 18 months where it's been boring. Do you know what I mean? You've been in and out. You've got these COVID restrictions. You can't actually really go anywhere. And for 4 weeks, all right, it's a long way away, but they've been able to train day in, day out, build an atmosphere and a togetherness. And Pep Lijnders kept referencing it. We're in the phase of it's us versus the world, it's us versus the world. And it seems very much to me like that this Liverpool side almost had to walk that path last year. It was an awful experience for everyone with all, everything that went on, the injuries, the deaths of fucking family members, the impact on everyone's mood. They've almost had to go through that. They're out the other side of it, and it's almost like they're as excited as us going into a season. And I just can't wait to see them. I think we're going to be unbelievable, and I think we're going to run over everyone. And I think Robbo's right. All these people who are saying Liverpool are going to finish fourth, I think they're fucking idiots, frankly.
Well, I mean, the point is, right? We finished fourth last year.
With
all of that,
with no fucking defence.
With all of that, and also no crowd.
Everyone's family dying.
No, but I mean, you look at it though. You look at the impact of the crowd, and people overdo it. But you've seen that with Sadio Mane, especially last year. He's looked already sharper, and I know they're only friendlies and one thing and the other. But I don't think you can overstate the impact of it. As you were saying, the moodiness, and also, incidentally, the referees as well when they get one up the backside of us.
Robertson's out. I mean, we can just say with certainty, I think, Gareth, at this point. So that means Shimikas has just got to start. The manager's got to trust him. He's got to put him in. He's had a really good pre-season. The next phase of that is 9 subs, means fewer missing out in terms of the big picture, so it should be a strong-looking bench. There's a few questions. First and foremost, Shimikas has got to start. Yeah,
Shimikas will start. I don't think there's any question whatsoever about that. The only other option is Milner, isn't it? And I think you'll obviously come on to talk about the midfield, and people might say, well, Milner could start. I'm going to say that he's not going to start because Milner's your man who's filling in on the bench in case there is a problem at fullback for me.
Really?
That's what I think. That's my theory on it. But Tsimikas, absolutely. And look, all eyes were on him the other night at the friendly on Monday. And I thought, and he will have known that. And I thought he performed really well.
Great.
And I like loads of things about it. Obviously, the 1-2 with Minamino and the ball into the box was the standout moment. But there was little bits. I said on something else the other day, like I noticed that he's a bit of a shithouse in a good way.
Yeah.
Because he was having a bit of a to-do with one of the forwards from Osasuna, and he won a free kick at one point, very much won. And the forward was giving him loads, like telling him to get up and all this, and he was giving it back like. You know what I mean? He was putting his hand on the ball, ready to take the free kick, and basically going, "You can fuck off." Do you know what I mean? And I was like, "Yes, I like this lad," and I think he's got the makings of already, of being a potential cult hero for us. You know, the way he's signing off on Instagram as Greek Scouser and all this. You know, there's a lot to love about all that. Obviously, he's got to actually do it on the pitch, and he won't be Robertson. I think we know that because Robertson's brilliant. Robertson's among the best in the world in his position. But I think he'll be fine. I'm looking forward to seeing him now.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'll ask the two of you, then come back to Gareth. So what should he do at centre-half, and who should start centre midfield with Fabinho and Jota or Firmino? So you first, Andy. What should he do at centre-half? Who should be his centre-mid options with Fabinho and Jota or Firmino?
Oh, God. So centre-half, and without knowing the ins and outs of the levels of fitness, I think you've got to start Van Dijk. If he's got 90 minutes. I think if he's got 90 minutes, you've got to start him, because I just think symbolically he's so big for Liverpool. I just think he matters so much from a leadership point, especially if you're starting Tsimikas as well, just having that solid dependability. Because I think that affected the fullbacks last year, the fact that he wasn't there as well. So, yeah, Van Dijk, and then, I mean, to take your pick, I mean, you're splitting hairs then, aren't you? You'd say Matip, because he's fully fit, and Konate's maybe probably not been there long enough to know the ins and outs, and that isn't a slight to Joe Gomez. I just think if you bring in one who's had a long injury, you don't want to bring two back in who've had long term. Maybe I'm talking Colin, I don't know, whatever. And then midfield, what are the options?
So you've got Keita, you've got Chamberlain, you've got Milner, Elliott. You haven't got Jones now, and then there's Thiago and Henderson. I thought Thiago looked sharper than Henderson against Osasuna. I think Henderson's looking at a 3 weeks, maybe getting Chelsea, but nothing before then. So I think we can write Henderson off, but they're the others.
I'd say the same for Thiago, just minutes. I think Fabinho's a given, isn't he? The Fabinho starts. And I've been really encouraged with Naby pre-season, but I'd go with Chamberlain, because I think Chamberlain looked sharp and smart, and I think an away game as well, where it might get a little bit physical. And then, I mean, I was going to say Milner, but Robert was quite right. He said you need him at the fullback on the bench. So, you go, well, so would that leave you with what?
Elliott or Chamberlain or, yeah.
So Chamberlain, Fabinho and...
Keita or Milner or Elliott?
We'd have to say Naby, wouldn't you? I mean, I'm massive on Harvey Elliott, by the way. But I just think, you go for experience over that. Milner would have been a shoe-in for me. But I think Robbo's absolutely spot on with the fullback cover. And then up front, you know what? Jota, and I love Fabinho. I think Fabinho's going to have a good season. But I think Jota's just got that thing in him, especially in the away games where they can bag one if Liverpool are maybe not playing particularly. Firmino is great when Liverpool are playing well. Firmino's great when Liverpool are playing well. And he's great otherwise. But I think Jota's got it, and I think he showed it at Wolves last year. When Liverpool need to dig a goal out, he's got that in him. So start the game, get it won, and then think about it afterwards.
Okay, Ben, what are you doing? Centre half first.
I think Matip is the most likely to start out of all of them. And I'm not sure on Virgil. I don't know if they're doing a bit of a diddle with starting Virgil in the last couple, and everyone's going to think he's definitely going to play. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. I think he's looked a little bit, and this might be because you remember him as being so imposing and so good. Do you know what I mean? And it might also just be that he is literally just working his way back in. But I think there's a couple of goals he's conceded where if you looked at it again, I think he's been a little bit within himself. I think if you'd asked him the question, he'd probably go, yeah, maybe. I think a couple of them in the last couple of games, just you'd expecting him to, just because his standard, you'd expecting him to deal with it. And he doesn't. I think it was the lad who always scores against us used to play for Fiorentina. What was his name? Jovetic. The one where he cuts inside and Virgil looks like he's going to clean him out all day and then he doesn't. And then there's another one the other day. So I'm not sure if Virgil will definitely start. I think Matip's nailed on, and then it's any one of the three. I think it's probably... realistically, I think it's between Virgil and Konate. And then in midfield, I think Milner's nailed on to play. And I think the reason being is that I think you're seeing Liverpool this pre-season so far, sort of re-emphasising how important pressing is to them. And I think he's going to want someone on that pitch who's going to emphasise tempo. And I think without Henderson being there to do that, I think he's looking at his There's other sort of steward. There's other one as consigliere. We can go, right, you get on there and make sure no one is taking it too easy at any point in the game. You set the tempo, you rattle someone early, you win your battles, and then you play. And I think it'll be Fabinho, Milner, and Keita. If I'm honest, I think Elliott might have hard lines to not play, but I think that'll be the midfield. And then, as you say, you've got 9 subs. You've got a load of options on the bench.
What do you think you'll do up front?
I think it'll be Jota. And I think Firmino will hang fire. I'm, with an eye on probably playing against Chelsea. Nailed on, gearing up. I think the team will be geared up to peak for Chelsea at home.
Okay. Robert, what do you think in terms of centre mid, in terms of centre half, in terms of the forward?
Centre mid, echo what everyone said. Fabinho, obviously. I think you can see the other night how what a difference it makes when he's in the side. How much difficult it is, more difficult it is to get through as when he's in the side. So he's nailed on. I think Naby's the man in form. The man who's got fitness as well. Something he's lacked, obviously, but right now he has got that. It's not uncommon for him to start for Liverpool at this stage of the season as well. He started the starts of season before, so I don't think it'd be like a mad shout or anything. So I think he's in. I think Fabinho's in, and it's only that other place that really is a shout, or is up for grabs. I think there was perhaps, and it could be proved completely wrong, but I thought it was interesting who plays Sunday and who plays Monday, and for that reason, I actually think there's a chance we do see Elliott from the start. Yeah, because I think you've got the experienced lads who can come on and do half an hour, maybe even a half, if it doesn't work out. And I think Klopp may go quite balls out, because I think I think he'll look at it and just think, well, everyone's absolutely tearing at the leash to get out there now after all we've been through. So I'll let them off the leash and let's go and see what we can do. And I think about some of the other first games of the season under Klopp as well, and they tend to be, or a few of them have been mad, like opposition scoring 3 goals and stuff like that. I remember being at the Arsenal one away, and that was superb. Obviously, there was 3. Leeds get 3 last season and things like that. So it's not uncommon for it to be mad in that first game. So this could well be mad as well. And, Elliott might not give you that control, but he might give you something mad. He might score a great goal. He might set something up. And I think he wants him in there early with Elliott. I think he wants to boost him. He's been talking him up. He's been starting him in friendlies. He's then been bigging him up in the interviews afterwards and stuff, which he doesn't have to do. He can try and play it down. So I think he wants him to do something early to get his confidence through the roof. So for that reason, I think he could actually start at the back. A game taken from those 2 friendlies, I thought it was interesting, the sides that you see the centre halves on.
Yeah.
So, it seems mad that you would play on the right-hand side, but then, start on the left in the first game of the season. Do you know what I mean? So for that reason, I think it will be Virgil starting. You mentioned the 9 subs. Like, if it's going wrong in any way, you can bring them off. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think it will go wrong. I'm with Ben on that. There was stuff going on in pre-season, including the game he started the other day, where you just thought, Virgil will get to that. Virgil will be all right there normally. But then I've got this thing in the back of my head about, well, he was managing himself. Do you know what I mean? It was a friendly. He doesn't have to go for it. There's nothing at stake, really. It doesn't fucking matter if anyone scores a goal in a friendly, basically. It does when there's 3 points at stake. So I think you play him because you need him for Chelsea. And I think Carragher said, didn't he, on Monday? He said, if you don't play him,
when do you play him?
When do you play him, and how does he get that match sharpness in time for that big game? And it's obviously he can be bitten on the arse saying things like it's only Norwich, but you know what I mean. It's not the most fearful attack that you're going to be facing all season, Norwich. So yeah, I think it'd be Virgil. I actually think it could be Virgil and Konate, which would be amazing. I'd love to see that. And I just think, again, in terms of balls out, imagine seeing them 2 together coming out to be like, fucking hell. So that would be mad, but I'd love to see it. And I just think, with the sides thing, like I said, in those friendlies, with Konate being on that side when he was playing the other night, and I thought he was decent as well. Maybe we see the 2 of them, who knows? And then, up front, Jota as well. I'm with the Jota shout. He obviously scored the goal. Bobby then replied with his 2. But Jota looks Bobby's had less time to recover, hasn't he? Playing for Brazil and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it makes sense to start Jota.
Andy.
Just on the Van Dijk thing, and I take what Ben's saying, but it was funny. I read in the interview after the first game when he did get diddled a little bit, and he said, "I'm absolutely knackered," and he said, not physically, just emotionally, just like getting those minutes on the pitch. So, also to me, it never occurred to me until what Robbo was just saying there. How important psychologically for Virgil would it be to just get his first game back in a league game? Do you know what I mean? Just to step foot and go, right, it's gone now. That's it. Put it to bed. I'm back. And again, if he has to come off, if Liverpool are 2-3-0 up after 60, sounds, bring him off. Do you know what I mean? And there's your rest there, lad. Well done, you've done it. Crack on. Sorry, carry on.
That's all right. I'm split between all of you then. So I think you'll start Van Dijk and Matip. And I think you should start Van Dijk and Matip. I think Matip looked great. I take the Canate point, but I think Matip looked great.
Matip's our best centre-half, by the way.
Yeah.
So probably best dresser. Sorry.
Then I think, though, if he does that, I think there's a couple of things here. And then he plays Shimikas, obviously, left back. I think if it wasn't for the Robertson injury, I wouldn't think this as much. But I think you start Milner. And the reason why is because he knows what it is to play Shimikas's role. He can play that left-hand side. He can get out. He can filter. He can help the lad through it. He can talk him through it. But also, if you've got Virgil's first game behind you, if you've got Fabinho and then Milner's sitting even close in front of that as well. So Milner's almost sitting next to Fabinho on that left-hand side, helping Shimikas there and helping Van Dijk there. But something else as well on the emotional side. It's one thing to say to Virgil, it's your first game back. It's another thing to have the armband too. So the idea, again, Milner leads them out and all that sort of stuff. And Milner only needs to do 60 in this environment, if you see what I mean. And then I think Keita's in possession and I'd start Firmino all day. I can't believe how emphatic you all are around Jota. Firmino gets 2 the other night, but also just in general, when Jota in that first game, and maybe they were tougher opponents, I don't know what you all thought, Jota does look sharp and he will always look better in front of goal than Firmino, but I just thought he got lost in it. To be honest with you, playing number 9, I thought he got completely lost in it. And there was times, and he's got the better 2. I hasten to add either side of him. And I was thinking, he's just not impacting this game enough for me.
He's good off the bench, Jota, as well, which is what I'm slightly torn on. Like, if it isn't going how we want, I'd like to see Jota coming off the bench, you know what I mean? Because he's impacted it so often already in his Liverpool career coming off the bench. So
could you not do a diddle, though, and put Mo through the middle?
It's possible that there's a diddle and they do that. But
that was unintentional, by the way. That was completely unintentional. Sorry.
I'm surprised by all of your rhymes. So yeah, I think that there's definitely something in. There's definitely something in that maybe. But I think you'd see more of Mo through the middle. I thought we would see more of Mo through the middle in pre-season. We didn't see much of it. So if he's going to do that, he just sort of pulls it from nowhere. We'll take some comments from the YouTube. We'll do Twitter at the end. We'll do the YouTube now. Just dead quick. Richard thinks that the centre-halves will be Matip and Canate, so he's gone different again. Mark Simon says Van Dijk was playing when we got 7 slotted past us. I mean, that's true, but then, so were other lads. I suppose that's fair to say. Someone else is going.
Say he wasn't there. Alisson
wasn't there. No, that's an excellent point. Richard also wants to see Ox and Elliott used in combination of the 2 midfielders doing defensive work. That's all very fair as well. Johnny Concrete didn't think about Elliott playing first game. Would love to see it, ripping him up. You've got Johnny Concrete's attention, Robbo. What are you going to do with it now? You've got it.
I love the Johnny Concrete shout. That is like when someone thinks they're hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Aye, Johnny. Or what's the other one? Rocky Marshmallow.
Crocky Balboa.
Johnny Concrete there, excellent to see. Excellent to see. Burnley will be a better game for Van Dijk to start much slower attacks as a teacher. That's really fair, I'd say. Are we selling the hologram? Which is good to see. What else have we got in here going all the way through? This one here. I presume he was meaning the thing in the Shankly, the Paisley hologram, or maybe he thinks something else.
I don't know what he's on about there.
Don't know what he's on about either. What else have we got? Daniel Vaughan thought that Elliott was superb against Bilbao, and the verticality of his passing was outstanding. I mean, that's what you're talking about, isn't it? What you want is for him to start, and the idea that he's just looking to spread it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought he was great the other night in that, we saw various lads across those 2 games and across pre-season in general get a bit of a go. And some of them impressed and some of them looked all right. But some of them did that thing for me where, you can see them playing safe. You can see them getting through the minutes. They don't want to put a foot wrong. Elliott's almost the opposite. He knows how good he is. And I think behind the scenes, they're telling him how good he is. And so already there's a freedom in his mind that he fits in at this level. I think Blackburn, the loan there, has obviously helped him on that score as well. Because, it's the championship, but it's that's not a lot different to playing teams at the bottom end of the Premier League.
It's hectic as well, yeah.
Yeah, so the teams that have come up, including Norwich, he's probably played against Norwich. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that mad for him to go and play against Norwich again. He's played against players of that level. Okay, Norwich have signed a few players in the summer, but they've also lost the best player, by the way. So yeah, I think Klopp wants him involved and he wants him in there early. And I think Harvey's desperate to do something. You saw that in the game the other night where, first half he puts one just wide and then there's the one that hits the bar, which is phenomenal footwork and almost a great finish. So he's got that in his locker. He played a great ball to Mo at one point as well. He's got that vision. I think, referencing Carragher on Monday on the free show as well, which is worth a listen if anyone missed that. He was talking about, a lot of players play passes that you can see in the stands that, you're like, yeah, can see that. Harvey Elliott is one of those players that plays passes that you don't see, that you're like, well, where did that come from? But go ahead. Do you know what I mean? So he's got that in his locker. He's adding that to it. And obviously the downside to it is, he's not as good at getting stuck in. He's not as good at digging in and getting a grip of a game and things like that. But I think Liverpool are going to Carrow Road and dominating possession anyway. Do you know what I mean? Whatever 11 they put on the pitch. So I'm not sure how much you need loads of the fellas who win the ball. And if Harvey's in there and he can sprinkle the stardust, I think that'd be good to watch.
Okay, just going to take a little bit of a thing now. So this is going out to the podcast. So for podcast listeners as well, what they're going to hear right now is me talking to Rory Smith about Leo Messi, and then there'll be another insert from there, and then we'll be back with all of us together, having a chat going all the way through. For those of you who are part of the live, it just keeps moving. It doesn't stop under any circumstances. The manager's coming out today, Jono, and he's discussed this. Welcome back, by the way, if you're on the podcast thing. The manager's come out today and he's discussed that it's going to take outs to do ins. What part of the Barca thing that I think is really interesting is they just never held the nerve, I think, and they never backed their own process. Liverpool very much do hold the nerve, and everyone's absolutely livid about it at different times and in different ways. And I do understand why, because we're all terrified of being left behind. But Klopp's absolutely crystal clear, I think, and Liverpool have been for ages. If there are no exits for any one of a variety of reasons, could be the money, could be the wages, could be the homegrown thing, could just simply be the numbers in the squad. If there are no exits, there will be no entries.
Yeah, well, I think that makes sense. I think the way Klopp's always worked, and I think I don't know about you. I thought the Pep Linders stuff he was writing on the club website was just really fascinating. All the little insights that you got from the process and how they think and stuff that you're always sort of glean, but you're not actually convinced. You're not actually got it written down that that's exactly what they're doing. But I think in one of them he says we have a contract for a year with our squad, and he writes that himself, his own words. Do you know what I mean? I think how they run that playing squad is, look, you're here for a year, and if none of you leave now, you're in, you're part of this squad, and we're going to use all of you, and we need everyone to create this unbelievable working environment where there's no gobshites and there's no one getting a cob on because they're not playing. If you're not playing, fine, work harder in training and I'll give you a go. And he's shown historically, Klopp, year on year on year, that he's willing to do that. You look, everyone's still, Origi's still here somehow, amazingly, and he's still only like 25 or something, which is bizarre. But 2 years ago, he was our backup striker and he was nowhere, and he hadn't scored a goal in 6 months, and then he comes on against Everton and everyone's like, why is he taking Salah off to bring Origi on? Or whatever the change was. It was something mad, and then he gets the winner. He hits the bar, then he gets the winner, and he goes on a run, he scores important goals time and again in the season. And I think this manager is as good as anyone in the world at understanding how footballers work. He said to Shaqiri, if you can find a team and it's an acceptable offer, you can go. But if you don't, you're back in the fold. And that's the way it works. Do you know what I mean? If he doesn't go, he's sad. He hasn't fucked him off. You look at managers previously, look at most managers in world football, they take a look at a player and say, nah, he's not for me.
He's about training with the kids, training on his own.
Yeah, and he's gone. He's none of our business now. He's lost because he wanted to leave, fuck him. Whereas Klopp understands the human nature. He's looked at Shaqiri. Shaqiri hasn't played enough for his own life and he wants to go and try something else. Sound that. But if it doesn't meet our requirements, then you're back in the fold and we might use you. And so if I'm going to use you, you've got to be ready. And if you're ready, you've got to work hard. And if you're going to work hard, you've got to work harder than everyone else to get back in the squad. And that's what's so important, and that's what drives Liverpool's success. And I think, you know, you always want the next thing. So as a fan, you want the next big thing. And me sitting here, I'd like us to sign a centre mid and a forward. I'd like us to sign a left back, another centre half. I'm not asked, so I don't have to deal with any of them. I don't have to tell them they're not playing. Do you know what I mean? But they're looking at the bigger picture, and I think they're comfortable. I think when you look, and I think the reason why is when you look at some of the stuff that some of the players are doing. You look at Minamino the other night. He was the best player on the pitch. It's ridiculous. And so you start thinking, well, is Minamino going to get a game? Because if he is, who you bringing in up front? So can we sign someone who knows how we play more than him? And is he going to be better? And if you know, or are we signing a midfielder? Because if we are, they're going to struggle to know how we play for 6 months. So when are we going to use them? How good are they? And so I'm almost at the point where I think we might shift a couple of people on. But I think if we're buying anyone, we're buying young kids on low wages with huge ceiling potential, and we say, right, you can come in, you can learn the ropes, but I wouldn't be expecting sort of big transfers. And I'm looking at the squad and I think we don't need it. I'm looking at the squad. The two signers from last season, they're bed in.
The thing they do, Gareth, is there's clarity. I think internally there's clarity, and it's not the sort of clarity the manager can come out and therefore put externally, because it involves, as just been said there, you know, Linders does brilliant work over the summer, but there's some stuff that doesn't leave dressing rooms for a variety of reasons. But I think there is real clarity, and I think they believe in their process, and I think that drives us mad. But I think that that's a whole club thing. I think that it's very rare you get the impression that the process isn't being believed and isn't being followed. Maybe with the centre halves in January was the first time there was ever anything at all. But for me, I think they believe, whether we like it or not, I think they believe in their process, and I think that that's what, and they will stick to it to the bitter end, in a way in which, as I say, what gets Barcelona in trouble for me is that they stop believing in it. They decide they've got to do a load of other stuff, spend money for the sake of it, for the show almost, to appease supporters. There's a voting system in place. Liverpool, I think they believe in, no, this is our way of doing it, is the best way.
Yeah, you see panic in football all the time. You see panic in what football clubs do. This is why so many deals get done on deadline day. Because it's like, you know, a manager or a sporting director or a combination of both, or even a chairman, because chairman obviously buy players as well.
Yeah.
You know, someone somewhere panics, looks at the season, looks at the start of the season and says, we've got to go and get someone. And as like Ben's alluding to, like, you know, the whole mental state of thinking something new is always better. And so much of football is about that. So much of being a football fan is about that. But it seems it affects the people who run it as well. And what Liverpool have done over a period of time said, we're not going to buy into that mindset. We're going to be much more logical. You can call it conservative, you can call it logical, you can call it what you want, but that is their way. And that's what I've been thinking about in recent days, which is that, you know, everyone can call for it all they want, and people will do it in different ways, some extreme, some not, some considered. You know, there's some considered arguments to be made. Obviously, you know, the 51 appearances for Gini Wijnaldum, and he's now gone. You know, that's one considered argument about, well, and then, you know, the injury records of some of the other lads in midfield and things like that. All of those are considered arguments, but you're not telling me they aren't considered arguments. They have considered themselves.
They haven't sat there and gone, Gini's gone, you know,
I was watching the Anfield Wrap there, and they mentioned that Gini played 51 games, and that Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain have got fucking bad injury. Like, oh shit, let's go and buy someone. You know, they've definitely considered these things. And look, they'll have names as well. And this is the other thing about, they dig in, and they've been digging in now over a period of time where they say, we will sell and buy at the prices we want to sell and buy at, and we won't be ad off. And that, once upon a time, that wasn't where Liverpool were at. And I can remember FSG sort of saying, you know, they weren't going to be ad over on wages. And I mean, it still seems that I haven't been ad over a little bit from where I'm sitting on age and fees, because they still seem to pay an awful lot for that. And I think, you know, they talked about maybe trying to address that, and they've not been able to. Maybe that's just how football is. I don't know enough about it. But yeah, they will steadfastly stay in their groove no matter what. And, you know, I think that's why you've got Klopp coming out today, doing that interview, the Norwegian thing, and saying, look, there's every chance no one comes. And if that's the case, were all right. And, you know, I thought those two friendlies were good for that. But certainly for my own mindset, when I watch both of those, because we've talked about loads of players already here tonight. Like, I was like quite impressed with Ben Woodburn. I was like,
he was perky, wasn't he?
Yeah. And he was like, he was getting stuck in. He looked a bit harder. He looked a bit tougher. He looked like he'd beefed up a little bit, but he looked quite sharp as well. And I thought, I'm not saying he's going to have a big involvement in the season or anything, but a bit like what Ben said about Minamino. Minamino was another one where he looked really strong as well. Yeah. Like he's been working on that side of his game, and you know that one too with Tsimikas was a real sharp bit of play that made you think, oh, hang on, I thought this fella was getting off, to be honest with you, but if he's coming off the bench at the weekend, I won't mind, to be honest with you.
That's the way it changes. It goes from there. I still want them to buy 2, though, but I do want them to be lads with about 21 because I think it's about building for the future, and I think that's the most important part of all of this. We'll do some more comments before we begin to wrap up. In there, for instance, on Twitter, Sanoj says, you know, Klopp's right, isn't he? Echoing what Gareth just said. Sam saying, should we be holding out for more for Shaqiri? Richard Seaman says, would you like to see Klopp put a greater emphasis on the domestic cups if squad fitness allows for it? The one thing I would say, Richard, to be quite fair, is we've been knocked out in the domestic cups by Arsenal at home on penalties when we were the better side, away to United at Old Trafford in the FA Cup, away to Chelsea in the 5th round of the FA Cup the season we win the league, away to Villa because all of our players went to Qatar and we had to play kids, away to Wolves in the 18-19 FA Cup, and at home to Chelsea in the 18-19 League Cup. Now, I don't think he does put much emphasis on the domestic cups, but fuck me, can we just get Manchester City's draws for 3 years and we'll see how it goes. In there as well, what else have we got? Tim says, how scary did you find Lukaku to Chelsea? Genuine title contenders now. They may well be, Tim. I think he's a really good player. He'll do well there. But the flip side of this is who are the team to beat?
Liverpool.
Who the second team to beat? Who the team for Liverpool to beat?
Man City.
Who the team for Liverpool to beat, Ben?
Man City.
Andy?
Everton.
Fuck off. What else do we have here?
They'll beat themselves.
Yeah, they'll sort that out on their own time.
It's just a quick Neil though, on the whole transfers thing, and I take everything, it all makes sense, but we're missing one thing here. Don't believe a fucking word anyone ever says from Liverpool Football Club concerning the transfers.
It's an excellent point that you make, Andy. It is an excellent point. And I do expect them to do too. I just think they will be ones for the future, as Ben said before. Listen, if you've enjoyed this, get in on chats and let us know and all this sort of stuff in all the different ways. You know, if you've enjoyed it as a podcast, that's great. Let us know. If you've enjoyed it as a live thing, that's great. We're going to be doing them throughout the rest of the season. Next week, we may well make it a bit of a gutter that we do as a live, because we'll drop it into the middle of the week and we'll go from there, because they're only playing across those boards. But when, for instance, they're playing Tuesday night in Europe, expect to see something like this from us on a Wednesday morning. Thank you very much indeed to everyone who contributed in the inserts, but especially to Gareth Roberts, to Ben Johnson, who raced home, and to Andy Heaton, who's done all the tech on an absolute flyer. It's been a pleasure and a privilege. We'll see you soon.